Tony Khan got hit with a Meltzer driver. This is leading to some massive plans. Plus, we're going to talk about a former WWE star now debuting in Tony Khan's company. And all that and so much more right here on the Ango Show. Welcome back to TAS. Ladies and gentlemen, let's kick things off with GYV. Grizzled Young Vets launching their own wrestling company. Might be wondering why it's a big deal. Now, we don't know much about it. We don't know if it's going to have TV distribution. We don't know if this is simply just another indie, another place for people to work. It could be so much more. We don't know. But they have announced that on Friday, the 21st of June, 2024, Burning Heart Pro Wrestling will take over the historic Liverpool Olympia. Now, one thing I found fascinating by this information is that they are specifically saying that this company is being led by an international committee of pro wrestlers. And listen, I think that's rad. At the end of the day, and whether you agree or not, the people who understand pro wrestling the most is not some rich guy who's never watched an episode. It's the guys who actually do it. Now, again, we don't know what this is going to be. We don't know the TV distribution or anything like that. But ultimately, I can acknowledge whether this is simply just another indie place or whether this is something that, you know, maybe takes off, gets TV distribution, live events on Fight or Triller or whatever. It doesn't matter. The more wrestling, the better. Also, I think if you take a look at the UK, you have to acknowledge the significant amount of damage that the UK indie scene took when WWE started working with Progress and ICW, and then they launched the WWE NXT UK. Like, as much as I loved NXT UK, it did do a lot of damage to the indie scene. The pandemic did a lot of damage to the indie scene. Obviously, there was a lot of factors in this, but the indie scene, especially in the UK, had gotten pretty damn bad. So what I think is there's no harm in having more wrestling companies. Now, keep in mind, when they left WWE, they could have done the easy thing and go to AEW, but they went to TNA, they went to Deadlock, they went to a whole bunch of indie companies. If I'm AEW, if I'm TNA, if I'm WWE, I should be paying close attention to what they're doing in the UK. Is this Burning Hearts Pro Wrestling thing only in the UK? I don't know, but this is something to definitely pay attention to. I'm excited about it. More wrestling never hurts. And these guys, I always found fascinated by their skill. Enjoyed watching them work in NXT. Despite the gimmicks that WWE gave them, I just always thought they were great. And obviously now what they've done post WWE, I can't believe it's not on the main roster. That's how good these guys are. Unbelievable. Speaking of the UK, WWE going to the London area? Well, it's a possibility. Sadiq Khan, who is the mayor for London, came out with a tweet today, and he said, "London is already the sporting capital of the world. If I am reelected next Thursday, we'll go even further. We'll look to bring WrestleMania, Super Bowl, and the NBA to London and put together another bid for the 2040 Olympics." And this right here got the response from the WWE CCO. Triple H. He responded, simply stating, "Let's talk." Now, listen, I'm going to be honest with you guys. In the United States, we have WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, all of these different events, and it's always really cool. But I think it would be fair to the UK fan base to finally get a WrestleMania. I didn't realize, and I'm speaking to you directly, I didn't realize how long you guys actually stay up to watch like an episode of Raw or SmackDown or NXT or whatever it may be. Like, y'all stay up real late to watch WWE. And I just got to give you props where it's due, because ultimately at the end of the day, that's like a job in itself, to stay up that late and watch wrestling. So at the end of the day, I think getting a WrestleMania would be really cool. I also think it would be a nice change of pace for WWE. You know, they've been doing these international stadium shows anyways. You got a lot of people who want WrestleMania in London. Also, I think if you're the WWE, you haven't done it before. So from a PR perspective, if all goes well, I think it's a really unique situation where you can now say you've done it for the first time. I think WrestleMania would be great over there. I think wrestling fans deserve it over there in the UK. wherever it may be. I don't know, but I don't think they're going to have an issue at all selling tickets. I think WWE WrestleMania is on fire. However, one thing I do have to note is that WrestleVotes came out before, suggesting that Nick Khan came out and basically said, hey, like for the foreseeable future, the big four pay-per-views are going to remain in the United States and Canada. So is WWE going away from their international plans? I have no idea, but you literally never know with WWE. One day it's this, the next day it's the opposite, and just sometimes I don't think they're as firm. It is something to pay attention to. But when you look at grizzled young veterans starting a wrestling company and they got a show in Liverpool, and you got WWE, you know, they had the NXT UK brand, but now they're trying to launch NXT Europe. Does that even happen? I don't know. But if you're doing WrestleMania in London, NXT Europe is a real thing that should be happening, right? That's if WWE hasn't already dropped the idea. Nonetheless, definitely something to pay attention to. Guys, Amari Miller is headed to AEW. Well, if you don't like spoilers, now is your time to click off because I'm going to break it down for you. Cameron Burnett, formerly known as Amari Miller in WWE NXT, made her ROH debut last night at Jacksonville. Yeah, this is very strange, I guess. She jobbed out to Nyla Rose. And that's it. There's really not much else to say. Look, she had a very interesting stint in WWE NXT. Simple as that. Is this a one-off? I mean, she's jobbing to Nyla Rose. Is this a one-off? It very well could be. Now, if you actually watch NXT, and I know a lot of people, they have their own feelings on NXT, and obviously injury and stuff, you know, kind of got in the way. But when you look at Amari Miller, she was somebody with potential. She was somebody in the WWE Performance Center with potential. I'm not going to tell you where that potential would have landed. I'm not going to tell you what it could have been. But what I will tell you is that she had potential. AEW ROH is all one company. It is very obvious. There's a lot of people that work ROH. They work AEW. There's a lot of people that work AEW, work ROH. This is not a signing that, if Tony Khan does, it's not a signing that makes major waves for AEW. But what it does is it gives them an opportunity to work with somebody who hasn't really been given that opportunity. And if you do what's right, you could do a lot of great things. You're trying to beef up that women's roster. It's an option. It's something to pay attention to. It doesn't mean it will happen, but it's something to definitely pay attention to, and that's why it's important. But with that being said, let's move on to the final topic. Tony Khan getting hit with the Meltzer driver. A lot of people hated this. A lot of people loved it. If you follow me on X, aka Twitter, I loved it. I'm not a Jack Perry fan. I'll never act like a Jack Perry fan. It doesn't matter how great of an actor Jack Perry is in the AEW ring. I'm just not a fan. I don't like his character or whatever. What I did like was this. I could fully admit that. This was a great way to end AEW because AEW needs a hot angle. Tony Khan, and let's not get it twisted, Tony Khan has been doing this thing for 5 years. And aside from showing up on TV to announce the sale of ROH or to make major announcements, Tony Khan is not sitting here as an on-screen character every single week on AEW television. No matter what anybody says, that is one thing that they've done incredibly good with. Now, I'm sorry, Tony Khan, if somehow this video lands on your desk, let me just tell you, you did not sell that that punch didn't look so good, okay? I could admit that. But it takes a lot of balls to get punched in the stomach and hit with a Meltzer driver in the main event slot of your TV show to kick off a new angle. And ultimately, at the end of the day, the most important aspect of this is leading to something bigger. Now, keep in mind, AEW has announced that Kenny Omega returns next week. And keep in mind, Tony Khan is selling the injury everywhere since this moment. So, at the end of the day, I respect the hell out of this. Now, yes, I don't like Jack Perry. I'm not a fan of Jack Perry. I think the Jungle Boy gimmick was the best thing in the world. And I'm still willing to let this play out because I love what the Young Bucks and Okada bring to the table. And to be fair, when you have Jack Perry there, it just makes a lot of sense. You know, it does. Did it need the CM Punk footage to get there? Absolutely not. But does it work? It does. I'm excited to see what happens next.